At one point in time, Francis Ngannou was one of UFC owner Dana White's most favorite fighters. But after taking over the UFC Heavyweight division, things quickly changed. So how and why did one of the most dominant and loved forces of the UFC end up departing the organization while in prime position as the heavyweight champion and become Dana White's most hated fighter in the process? Firstly, we need to understand what made Francis Ngannou not just a UFC champion, but truly a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. Growing up in the dusty streets of Bati, Cameroon, Francis Ngannou had to work in the sand mines to make ends meet, but his pay was rarely enough. For that reason, Ngannou hated his childhood. As he grew up, he developed a keen interest in boxing, but since opportunities were few and far between in his native Cameroon, he had to take a life-threatening trip to Europe. Ngannou walked through the Sahara Desert to illegally enter Spain, but was arrested and sent back on his first attempt. On his second attempt, he made it to France. But life wasn't easy there either, as he had to live on the streets for the first 2 years. Ngannou's tough life changed when he found a local boxing club, coached by Didier Carmont, who convinced the gym to let him train for free considering his circumstances. From there, Francis was introduced to the head coach of MMA Factory, Fernand Lopez, who saw his potential as an MMA fighter. Lopez took the big Cameroonian in, trained him for free from the ground up, and turned him into the Predator. Before long, Ngannou was destroying local opponents, which landed him a UFC contract in 2015. In just a few years, Ngannou went undefeated in the UFC and earned a shot at the heavyweight title against Stipe Miocic at UFC 220, but came up short. Instead of falling apart like many rising stars, he bounced back stronger, eventually winning the belt in a rematch against Stipe Miocic at UFC 260 by knockout, becoming one of the scariest UFC champions in the process. Now, with UFC gold in his possession, things surprisingly went downhill between Ngannou and the UFC. After winning the championship, Ngannou made it clear that his dream wasn't just about MMA. He wanted to follow his idol, Mike Tyson, into the boxing world. However, Dana White and the UFC weren't willing to make it happen. This was the second big crack in their relationship since Ngannou became champ. The first being Ngannou's frustration with low pay, which he openly discussed after fighting out his contract and defending his title against Cyril Gane at UFC 270, where Dana refused to put the belt on the champ. Apart from the chance to box and earn bigger paychecks, Ngannou had other demands for signing a new UFC contract. These included a bigger share of earnings for all fighters, better health insurance, and improved sponsorship opportunities. Despite their strained relationship, Dana did everything in his power to make Ngannou stay. He offered Ngannou so much money that he would have become the highest-paid heavyweight in the promotion's history. For context, Brock Lesnar was the highest-paid heavyweight in UFC history, earning $8 million for his fight against Mark Hunt at UFC 200. Still, Ngannou declined, eventually parting ways with the UFC in one of the most shocking headlines of 2023. This turned out to be the best decision of Ngannou's life. Ngannou vacated his heavyweight title and walked away from a potential dream matchup with Jon Jones. Speaking on the matter, Dana wasted no time claiming that Ngannou was ducking Jon Jones because he was too much of a risk. Ngannou denied these claims. His post-UFC days were initially challenging, with failed negotiations with other top MMA promotions that couldn't afford him. The UFC PR machine targeted him, suggesting his decision to leave would backfire. However, Ngannou stayed focused and eventually signed with the PFL in May 2023. The deal secured a multi-million-dollar contract, a role in the organization, and the opportunity to box legends like Tyson Fury. 5 months later, Ngannou proved Dana wrong again by booking his professional boxing debut against the legendary Tyson Fury, earning life-changing money. Despite being the underdog, Ngannou stunned everyone when he dropped Fury with a counter left in the third round. The fight turned into a brutal battle, and many believed Ngannou had done enough to win. However, the judges awarded Fury the win by split decision. Ngannou earned $10 million for his fight against Tyson Fury, and at least another $20 million when he faced Anthony Joshua in his second professional boxing match, although Ngannou was knocked out cold by Joshua, giving Dana White a moment of triumph. He silenced critics by returning to MMA and defeating Renan Ferreira to win the PFL heavyweight title, proving he was still as dangerous as ever. Since leaving the UFC, Francis Ngannou has made over $30 million, conquered the boxing world, and claimed a belt in a rival promotion, proving Dana White wrong every step of the way. The Cameroonian's resilience and success have arguably turned him into the UFC's biggest competitor, which is why Dana White hates him. Ngannou's story didn't just end with his groundbreaking PFL deal or his shocking boxing debut against Tyson Fury. His journey became a living testament to the power of perseverance and staying true to one's principles, even when the odds are stacked against you. Following his defeat to Anthony Joshua, there was an undeniable moment of reckoning for Ngannou. Critics labeled him as a flash in the pan, someone who had bitten off more than he could chew by leaving the UFC. Yet, those who truly understood the man knew better. Francis Ngannou had been written off before, more times than he could count, and every time, he came back stronger. In the months following the Joshua fight, Ngannou took time to recalibrate. It wasn't just about his next fight, it was about proving a point. He returned to his roots, spending time in his native Cameroon, where he continued to work on the philanthropic projects that had become a cornerstone of his identity. Ngannou's foundation, which focused on building gyms and creating opportunities for underprivileged youth, saw significant growth during this period. The man who once dreamed of escaping the sand mines was now ensuring that the next generation wouldn't have to walk the same perilous path. Meanwhile, the PFL was capitalizing on their prized acquisition. The promotion had been in dire need of a marquee name, and Ngannou's presence brought legitimacy and intrigue to their events. His first fight under the PFL banner was against Renan Ferreira, a dangerous opponent who many believe could derail Ngannou's comeback. However, Ngannou's performance in that fight was nothing short of masterful. He showcased a refined skill set, combining his devastating power with improved grappling and a level of composure that only years of experience could provide. The victory was not just a win, it was a statement. Ngannou was back, and he was better than ever. The win against Ferreira solidified Ngannou's status as the PFL heavyweight champion, but it also reignited discussions about his place in the MMA pantheon. Fans and analysts alike began to speculate about dream matchups, particularly with fighters from other promotions. The idea of a cross-promotional super fight became a hot topic, with many calling for a showdown between Ngannou and the reigning UFC heavyweight champion, Jon Jones. The UFC, however, remained staunchly opposed to any collaboration, with Dana White continuing to downplay Ngannou's achievements and relevance. Despite this, the clamor for the fight only grew louder, fueled by Ngannou's consistent dominance and Jones' own impeccable resume. Beyond the octagon and the boxing ring, Ngannou's impact extended into mainstream culture. He became a sought-after figure in the media, appearing on talk shows, podcasts, and even starring in a few high-profile commercials. Hollywood also came calling, with Ngannou landing a role in an upcoming action blockbuster. His story resonated with audiences far beyond the world of combat sports. It was a tale of resilience, grit, and unwavering determination, qualities that transcended any single profession or sport. Ngannou's growing celebrity also allowed him to shine a spotlight on issues close to his heart. He became an outspoken advocate for fighter rights, using his platform to push for reforms in how athletes were compensated and treated. While his departure from the UFC had initially been framed as a risky move, it was now being seen as a turning point in the broader conversation about fighter pay and contractual freedoms. Ngannou's willingness to walk away from the most powerful MMA organization in the world had inspired countless other fighters to demand better treatment, creating a ripple effect that was impossible to ignore. The UFC, for its part, tried to maintain its dominance in the face of this growing unrest. Dana White's public jabs at Ngannou became increasingly frequent. with the UFC president often dismissing his former champion as irrelevant or overrated. However, these remarks often seemed more like damage control than genuine criticism. The reality was that Ngannou's success outside the UFC was a direct challenge to the organization's monopoly on elite MMA talent. For years, the UFC had been the ultimate destination for fighters, but Ngannou's journey proved that there were viable alternatives. Ngannou's influence extended beyond the realm of sports. He became a global ambassador for Africa, using his platform to highlight the continent's potential and challenges. His story inspired countless individuals, not just in Cameroon, but across the world, to chase their dreams despite the obstacles in their path. Ngannou's success was a testament to what could be achieved through hard work, resilience, and an unyielding belief in oneself. In the end, Francis Ngannou's story was about more than just fighting. It was about defying expectations, challenging the status quo, and refusing to settle for less. It was about a man who overcame unimaginable odds to achieve greatness, and who used his success to make the world a better place. Ngannou's journey was a reminder that true greatness isn't just about what you accomplish, but about how you use your platform to inspire and uplift others. And in that sense, Francis Ngannou was not just a champion. He was a pioneer, a role model, and a symbol of hope for millions around the world. Who do you think is right in this saga? Is Dana just upset about a fighter standing up for better treatment? Or was Francis expecting too much? Let us know your thoughts. And don't forget to check out our video on cocky UFC fighters getting humbled by their opponents.